Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful Monday evening. Hopefully, you had a pretty good weekend, even though she was a hot one. But I got a good one for you today from Pierre Poilievre. He showed up at Montreal last week talking about quote unquote safe supply stations in Montreal, and this one was at a place right across from a playground. So, yeah, that's a wonderful place to have a place where people can do drugs. Because this is YouTube, I cannot say that word very much, and a lot of this, whenever Pierre Poilievre actually says the names of these narcotics, I'll probably just blank it out. But whenever I blank it out when he's talking, it's gonna be he's saying like the hard stuff. So let's just get that out of the way first, because it might be kind of like he's talking and then blankety blank blank blank. So, but this is YouTube. What can you do? Anyways, after that, let's get into it.
Everything costs more. Doesn't pay. You make it, Trudeau takes it. Housing costs have doubled, with the worst housing inflation by far in the G7. The worst housing inflation in Canadian history. Incomes have fallen 40% short of housing costs increases. Rent has doubled. Mortgage payments have doubled. The needed down payment has doubled. Here in Montreal, rent has actually tripled. When I was housing minister 9 years ago, you know how much it cost to rent a one-bedroom here? $700. Now it's $2,200 in just 9 years. The people of Montreal have given Justin Trudeau their trust. What did he give them in return? He tripled their rent. He sent people to the food bank. 25% of Canadians are now living in poverty. A quarter of kids are going to school hungry, according to the federal government's own data. We have the worst economy in the G7 by far. It has shrunk more since 2019 than any other G7 country. In fact, our per capita GDP is now smaller than it was before COVID. We are one of the only countries in the world that has that distinction. Our money is leaving. $500 billion of our investment has left to the United States to escape Trudeau's taxes and red tape. Meanwhile, we have the second slowest building permits in the OECD, which is driving up home building costs. What does Trudeau do about that? He gives more and more of our money to incompetent, radical NDP Liberal mayors who block home building and drive up homelessness. Everywhere we go in Canada, it's the same story. 35 homeless encampments in Halifax, 256 homeless encampments in Toronto. 50 of them have opened in 3 months alone. Some people are even calling these homeless encampments Trudeau towns to reflect the fact that we never had these places before him. And here at this beautiful school, we're seeing children terrorized by drugs, by potential violence, by gross sex acts, by needles and other danger.
Yeah, so apparently Montreal now has its own Hoovervilles. If you don't know what Hoovervilles are, they were homeless encampments in the 1920s during the Great Depression. They called them after the president during that time in the United States. So that just shows you how bad of times we're having up here in Canada now that we have camps so big enough that they're starting to name them the same way as they have in the Great Depression. So, yeah, if you didn't think it was bad, then now that just is another grain in the sand, heap of sand that is our economy. Some more stuff where he's talking about the rent in Montreal. I'm not quite sure about the rent in Montreal, but when I used to live in Ottawa, that was about 4 years ago. So, it was 2020. Yeah. So, definitely across the river from Ottawa in Gorneau, Quebec, I was looking at one bedroom apartments that were 700 bucks. And yeah, you'd have to pay utilities, but in Ottawa, it was like $1,200 for one bedroom. Super expensive. Like people would live in Garneau, drive across the river, and work in Ottawa. So while we had that going, I just quickly looked up and Rent Faster what it is now, and yeah, one bedroom actually just renting out a bedroom is over $500 in Garneau. That's crazy. So like in Quebec, it has gotten to the same point as Ontario, and on top of that, the sheer amount of taxes in Quebec. I don't know how people can live there. It's with the taxes and now the home prices that are so high. That's just craziness for me.
What we're seeing here is a radical, wacko liberalization experiment of drug legalization that has driven up overdose deaths and crime and now threatens once safe neighborhoods. Despite the failed experiment that's destroying lives, Trudeau is doubling down by allowing the Benoît drug injection site in Montreal, located just steps away from this elementary school and this park, which is supposed to be safe for children. Parents have raised the alarm bell about this disaster, saying their children are afraid to go to school. Some kids have even witnessed indecent acts on the sidewalk and have been shouted at. Residents warn of an influx of drug dealers who've been drawn into the area since the site opened. Montrealers no longer recognize the once safe communities that they used to live in. Now they see homelessness, crime, chaos, drug abuse, which have become common. Montreal's NDP Liberal mayor has even insisted Montrealers should just learn to live with this chaos and this danger. She says we should just accept homelessness, and the Trudeau government refuses to directly reject the city of Montreal's radical request to legalize hard drugs in this city, even after the experiment led to a 400% increase in overdose deaths in BC where it was tried. And just this week, the London Telegraph, a famous international publication, called Vancouver the world's capital of fentanyl overdoses. The whole world is looking in disbelief on the wacko liberalization of drugs that is destroying lives under Justin Trudeau after 9 years. And so I am here today to stand up for this community because none of the Liberal MPs in the area are willing to do it. Mark Miller is supposed to be the MP here. What is he doing? He's nowhere. He's doing nothing. Just like Anthony Housefather is nowhere and doing nothing to protect the Jewish people against the rampant anti-Semitism that has unleashed on the streets of Montreal and across Canada, and Housefather is protecting this recent radical that they appointed to head up the Human Rights Tribunal.
We're going to start at this drug legalization that they have going on here. So they started this in Vancouver, if you didn't know, where it's called Safe Supply, quote unquote. It's not Safe Supply. It's pretty much where kind of a place where you can go and then you can grab the purest narcotics, and then you can do what you need to do there. And usually it's rampant with homeless people and stuff like that. Sorry if I sound weird with my words, but I have to. It's really hard to explain things about drugs when on YouTube. So, anyways, but I thought this was just at a park, which was bad enough. But it's right across the school from an elementary school and a park. So like these kids who just want to enjoy their childhood, want to go to school and hang out with their friends and go to recess, right when they walk outside, they see this stuff. They have to be subjected to homeless people. And I heard, or I read some stories online where they've been like asked for money. They've been like people half nude outside, and the kids are subjected to that. Like just all of this stuff, and I could just imagine the amount of needles on the at the park. One of these kids is gonna get hurt. I can't believe how the mayor of Montreal is allowing this. Well, I guess I can believe it when she comes out and she tells the populace that they're going to need to live and accept homelessness. Even you should never want to accept homelessness. Nobody should accept that. As a mayor, it should be your duty to solve homelessness, to solve the reason why it's happening. But it seems like the mayor is just given up and just wants to, put them in a corner and just not talk about it. So who knows? Maybe she was saying with this Trudeau government, which this would make sense if she meant with this Trudeau government, or she or he. I don't know if Pierre Poilievre mentioned who the mayor is, but if they meant that with this Trudeau government and how they are implementing all of these rules, they'll just have to accept it for now. Because I know in Toronto they're having the same thing where they've implemented safe supply and now they're trying to get rid of it. But Trudeau and the Liberals are like, no, we want to keep safe supply in. So now the municipalities in Toronto have to go to the Supreme Court and sue the Liberals to get this law overruled. That's how hard it is to overrule a law when it gets changed. So, anyways, enough of that rant.
His house father votes to give money to UNRWA terrorists, and he stands by Trudeau, who's the most anti-Israel prime minister in Canadian history. The Montreal Liberal MPs do nothing for their community, so I am here to fight for Montrealers in this wonderful city. And I'm today calling for the Trudeau government to close its drug den. Under Section 56.1 of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, the government has the power to accept or refuse a supervised consumption site like Maison Benoit Labre. Justin Trudeau must immediately shut down this hard drug injection site, this drug den, to protect our children, reassure families, and ensure the safety of all Quebecers and Canadians. It's time for a common sense conservative government that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Let's bring it home. Creating a cohabitation. This is the latest Orwellian terminology that the radical, wacko, bloc liberal politicians like Plante and Trudeau are inventing. And what they mean by that is that kids should have to cohabitate with people who are using crack, heroin, and other hard drugs in their play parks like this. This is total wacko. Kids should not have to cohabitate with hard drug use and crime. That's not Canada. What it is leading to is more danger and more violence. And by the way, there's an entire industry of bureaucracies and activists and politicians who are profiting from this misery and want to perpetuate it. and they are pumping more and more money into keeping it going. I will end it. My common sense plan will ban the hard drugs. It will put the money into treatment rather than into handing out narcotics. We will break the dependence on drugs, and we will bring our loved ones home drug-free. And let me just close off by quoting a local resident who describes what it's like to have this so-called cohabitation that the wacko radical mayor and prime minister are pushing. This is from...
Just before that, I'm just going to kind of go over what he said a little bit and rant about that, if you will. So yeah, they're for some reason asking the populace to just live with it, that we have to cohabitate with these people who are taking hard narcotics right by where our kids play, and they're just gonna have to deal with it. So let's diminish our lives just because our government's too incompetent to close these, drug dens. I know these people have issues and they're addicted to this stuff. So do what Alberta's doing, where they're actually investing, and this is what Pierre Poilievre is saying he's going to do, is investing in rehabilitation sites where it's comfortable, where you can go, where you can get better, where you can get the treatment you need, and then when you leave, you're good to go, you're clean, and they help you out with getting a job and all that stuff. So I mean, that's what's got to get done with this. But Trudeau and the NDP libtards are they just want to leave it be. They think having people hyped up on narcotics is the best way to go, and have your kids play near them and just live with it and be subjected to that sort of environment.
From Michael Mackenzie, Canadian Research Chair in Child Wellbeing and Professor of Social Work and Pediatrics at the University of McGill. Before the center opened, community resistance was narrowly focused on the drug injection site. The discussion, sadly now, extends to the entire facility, risking to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There is no evidence in the literature I have read that commingling transitional housing with a supervised injection inhalation site is a prudent move in supporting recovery of those newly housed. I make no apologies because that I don't want my children seeing sex acts on the way home from school. I feel no shame in saying it is unacceptable to have people publicly masturbating or assaulting neighbors. Communities, much like the families who comprise them, can be both compassionate and set firm boundaries about unacceptable public behavior that harms people and traumatizes children. It is compassionate to demand more from politicians and the Benoit Laub Center. That's Michael Mackenzie, Canada Research Chair in Child Wellbeing and Professor of Social Work and Pediatrics at the University of McGill. That sounds like common sense to me.
So just saying the one thing, when I blinked it out there, he was talking about people doing indecent acts, like really indecent acts. Use your imagination in these areas.
Your party hasn't actually said what your policy towards safe injection sites will be. So you want to close this one, but will you close others? What will you do around safe injection sites across the country?
I will be closing them. We will close safe injection sites next to schools, playgrounds, anywhere else that they endanger the public and take lives. We will defund. By the way, they're not safe injection sites. I'm sorry. I used your dishonest language. See, you just repeat the language that is fed to you by the government. Are you a CP? Are you a CP?
CP?
Who are you with?
Globe Mail.
You're with the Globe and Mail. You guys repeat the same language you get from the radical liberal NDP activists and bureaucracies. You call them safe. How can they be safe? You think it's safe when a bullet comes flying out of one of these sites to kill a mother in Toronto? Do you think that's safe? You think it's safe to have people using crack and heroin and cocaine next to a playground like this? You think that's safe? It's not safe.
Supervised injection sites.
They're drug dens. They're drug dens. And they've made everything worse. Everywhere they've been done, they've made everything worse. And I know what you'll do now. You'll now go and call the same bureaucrats who caused the chaos, and you'll call them experts. The people who caused the 400% increase in drug overdose deaths in Vancouver, you're going to call them experts. They are expert at destroying communities and ending lives, but at perpetuating their own industries, because that's what they are. They are industries that want to expand, and the only way they can continue to exist is by keeping the misery going. So they're not safe. They are unsafe injection sites. They are drug dens, and we oppose them. The Supreme Court has been very clear that these radical bureaucrats don't have the right to open these drug dens anywhere they want. The court made it clear that there are reasonable restrictions that can be placed on them, and that includes playgrounds.
And on that note, he's right. About the expansion of companies who want to expand into these into the illicit drugs portion of the economy. Let's just say a couple of months ago, the Trudeau government just put in a law that said it was okay or approved cocaine factory, pretty much, to create this stuff for a safe supply in BC. So you can imagine the amount of companies that are just like drooling at the concept of investing in these highly addictive substances. So, and on that note, I can't believe the Globe and Mail actually came out and they're talking about asking if he's going to close them, why they're going to close all these sites. Usually the Globe and Mail is pretty milquetoast, to be completely honest. They're not really for the Liberals, for not the Liberals. So this is difficult because safe supply should not be a thing because it's not safe. It's highly unsafe. And when Pierre Poilievre said it perfectly. These aren't safe places. They're drug dens. They're super unsafe. So it should be called unsafe supply. Anyways, let's continue.
I've told you my policy. I'm against the drug dens next to children's playgrounds, schools, other places where people who are vulnerable in the community live. We will defund them. There will not be a single taxpayer dollar from the Poilievre government going to drug dens. Every single penny will go to treatment and recovery services to bring our loved ones home drug-free. Thank you.
Okay, merci.
Nice try. Nice try. The Supreme Court didn't say that. See, I know what you're trying to do. The Supreme Court didn't. No, I'm giving you my answer. The Supreme Court did not say that there can be. It's okay. The Supreme Court didn't say that you can have a drug den wherever you want. It said that there are reasonable restrictions that can be placed to stop them from opening up in locations that endanger the community or where there is community opposition. That's what the Supreme Court actually said. Now, I know that wacko politicians and the Liberals and the NDP and their supporters in the media want to make it sound like there's a constitutional obligation that we allow these drug dens anywhere they want to go up. That is not true. That is the opposite of true. We have the power under Section 56.1 of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act to reject these these drug dens and shut them down where they endanger the public, and that's what I will do.
Pouvez-vous répondre en français aussi, s'il vous plaît?
And that's how it should be. If the public doesn't want them there, or if it's an area where normal people with common sense would be like, hey, we shouldn't put a drug den here, then don't. Then you shouldn't be allowed. But the problem is that, and by all means, this isn't my problem, this is the Liberals' problem, is nobody wants these drug dens near their communities, near their places, so they'll have no place to put them. In the end, they'll just have to ban them outright. Well, not ban them, but they'll just be socially banned because nobody will approve them. Nobody will approve of them. And on the funding point, it irks me to no degree that the government's putting my money into something like this, something as disgusting as Safe Supply. It's a disgusting concept, and it can only be conceptualized by this idiotic government that we have. I can't wait until we have conservatives in to bring in some common sense back to Canada. So the rest of this is about more their NATO questions and all that, some other stuff that doesn't really have to do with what I'm trying to put into the video. So I might make kind of a compilation video tomorrow with some snippets of these other questions and then put them in, because I think they're really important to have in its own video, because these are important issues, and it's good that Pierre Poilievre is actually talking about that, and you guys should know. So, but I think we're going to end it here. Let me know what you think about the video in the comments below, and what do you think should happen to these drug dens? Should we keep them, or should we not? And if you like this video, give me a like. It helps with the algorithm, and if you could subscribe, that would be awesome, because trying to get up to that 500 subscriber count so I can start live streaming, that would be fun. And other than that, have a great day.